In general, if you want to make a lot of progress, the best way of going about it is to have a trainings plan laid out with a certain amount of exercises you're focusing on and following that plan over the long term. Without a doubt, that's the best way of going about it in the long term. But every once in a while, it's fun to have a bit of random training, to have a bit of training where you just do what you feel like. And that's what you see here. Now, my training was a bit random over the last few weeks already, but more so less random than more random. And here we really have a session where I just thought, okay, what do I want to do today? And we started out with power snatches from the blocks. And here is a power snatch from the blocks PR of 78 kilos. Now, in general, I'm not doing a lot of power snatching. I did a bit of it in a complex, never done it really from the blocks. So this is definitely an exercise that's not in my usual training plan, so I would call it pretty random. I mean, it's still somewhat relevant to Olympic lifting and to strength training, but nevertheless, it's pretty random. Now, I said already that my training over the last few weeks has been a bit random already, but it was really not that random. I made most of the sessions up on the spot, but it was still pretty much only Olympic lifting with squats and some upper body pushing and pulling in there. So it was random, but it was still same old, same old. And here, power snatching from the blocks is a bit farther removed from that, I would say. And then I moved on to power cleans and push presses, which are also not that far away, but still something I usually don't do. And also again from the blocks because it just makes it easier. And on this topic of me saying it's random, but it's not that random, I think that's a pretty interesting thing to talk about if somebody says they just train whatever they feel like, because what they feel like can be more or less good. So if you have somebody that's quite well read or has quite a lot of knowledge on training and has been training for a few years, and you just throw them into a random gym with random equipment and they make up a random workout, chances are it's going to be pretty good. Because strength training in the grand scheme of things is not really that hard to understand, and the basics are pretty basic. So making up a workout on the spot, if you roughly know what you want to have, is not that hard. And so a random workout can still be more or less random, because if I just pick a random friend of mine and say, okay, let's make up a workout, it could be pretty bad or it could be okay, but it's not going to be as good as if somebody who knows what they're doing pretty much makes a random workout. So random still needs to be put under quotations, because for me, a random workout is still something I thought about for upwards of half an hour or something like that. So here we have power cleans and push press. Also something I never really do that much, power cleans especially. I do some push presses, but also not for singles in the last time. And here we have another PR of power clean and push press of 88 kilos, which is now the same as my snatch. I had to step forward, but I still count it because it was really a balance issue and not a strength issue. So I didn't push again, no double dipping here. I was just stepping forwards because of balance reason. And then I thought, what am I gonna do? I'm just gonna do a set of 20 on the overhead press. Something that I can say with some amount of certainty I've never done. I've recently done a few sets of 20 on the squat, and yeah, pretty much first time doing this high of a set on the overhead press. I'm not sure if I kept count exactly. In my head it was 20. It might have been 19, I'm not sure, but I'm not gonna count them back now. So if you have time, feel free to count back and tell me, no, it was 21 or 18 or whatever. But yeah, still a high rep set of overhead presses. Now back to the topic of somewhat random videos or random workouts, especially if you generally know what you're doing and you just do a bit different variation in a bit different rep scheme or in a different order of exercises. I think random workouts really can help you see where you're at, because if you're doing something all the time, you kind of lose the tree for the forest or whatever the saying is. But if you just do something that you usually don't do, you can really somewhat judge how good your strength or your fitness level is. Because if you're doing something that you do always, then you're pretty well adapted to that. But if you mix in a bit of different thing that's still roughly the same, it really gives you a good indicator of how strong or how athletic or how fit you are. And here to round out the workout is a set of max pull-up. Now I did these with straps because I don't care about forearm strength at the moment, and the camera angle was not optimal. And I'm also not locking out my elbows 100%. Now, to be honest, if I would be very strict, I wouldn't. So I'm not gonna count this as a real PR because for me that's not strict enough. The swinging with the feet is fine. I'm not really giving myself a lot of swing with the feet. They're just moving. But on most of the reps, I didn't lock out my elbows fully, so I'm not really counting it as a PR. But I think for most people, they probably would count this. I think I got 19, and the last one I didn't quite manage. But for an exercise that I have not been focusing on in the last few, probably a year, it's definitely fine to maybe call it a small PR of 19 reps. Yeah, whatever. Have a good one, guys. Goodbye.